So thank you very much for coming in and having a chat. And I was just listening to you share downstairs. It was just incredibly powerful, and thank you very much for coming in and sharing with the house. And one question that I was thinking that I kind of wanted to open up with was, do you think, because obviously you're an ex-client of Gladstones, do you think that treatment and recovery is just for people that suffer from alcohol and substance misuse or addiction?
Not at all. I very rarely drink, that's through personal choice, and I've never taken drugs. I came to Gladstones because it was the only place that could take me to keep me safe, because I wanted to kill myself. You know, I spent the day before I came to Gladstones thinking, what's going off here? You're going to a rehab and you don't even drink, you know. But actually, when I got here, I actually was an emergency admission on a Saturday, and I saw the psychiatrist for an assessment, and I couldn't speak, and he just took one look at me and said, you've had a breakdown, a full emotional breakdown. When I then started joining therapy sessions and they were talking about emotions and feelings and various other things, it was like, what the hell are these guys on about? I didn't understand feelings, didn't understand emotions. I was so dead inside. I didn't even speak, because what had I got to say? What had I got to offer? I was 2 weeks in, due to go home. I'd only come for 2 weeks, and I'd not uttered a word in group therapy, and I'd only spoken single words in private to my therapist. So I felt like a fraud. I sat in that group and I heard people's horror stories about what addiction had done to them, how it had affected their behaviours, what they had become because of the substance. And I realised very, very quickly that the only way I was going to survive was to be like these people, be open and honest. You know, I've got people talking about smashing people's hands in with hammers and appalling stories, and I'm looking at these genuinely nice, kind people sat in front of me that had done these horrific things and thinking, whoa. And then the realisation that actually I've done all those behaviours, I haven't smashed anybody's hand in with a hammer, stone cold sober. So why did I behave that way? And the fact and the simple truth was that I didn't feel, I didn't want to exist, and in my own head, if I didn't exist, then I couldn't upset anybody. And why did I want to exist? Because life held nothing for me. I'd had it all. 2 beautiful children, an extremely good business with my husband, beautiful farmhouse, horses, you name it, nice cars. But inside, I was deeply unhappy. And actually facing that brutal truth was hard, because I didn't know why I was unhappy. So is addiction just for addicts? What is an addict? It's somebody that has a certain set of behaviours to either avoid emotions or to make them feel safe. So I am an addict.
Yeah. And I think sharing that kind of deep-rooted kind of sadness, like you described, that unhappiness,
Unbearable sadness,
you know, and not knowing, you know, that it's so painful, not knowing, carrying that around each day, it's terrifying. And I think in that respect, the underlying issue, what is the difference? You know, it's pain, you know, at the end of the day, and it's trying to understand, how can I understand that pain better? You know, how can I kind of move forward in that understanding?
And I think one of the things that is almost wrong with society, for want of a better expression, is yes, you see meetings portrayed on the TV, on dramas, and it's my name's so and so and I'm an alcoholic and I've been sober so many, and yeah, celebrate the days you're sober. But actually, I've just had a major little win that I have celebrated downstairs, and that's the fact that I managed to sit in a room full of people and eat something, because I couldn't eat in front of people. But I've done it, and you know what? That's a major triumph, and do you know what? I'm going to own it, because I know what that means. Now, most people eat in front of people, but that's the nature of recovery. And the other thing with the meetings are portrayed and everything, it's always somebody's had a really deep, horrible, horrific trauma that they've either buried or they've survived, but it's led them to the drink, or you know, it's the detective who's seen an horrific murder scene. And what people don't understand, and what I've learned being in here, is that every day simple little insignificant things can cause real trauma. And the one thing I do say to my daughters is, if you have a thought that goes round and round and round in your head and it doesn't stop going round, speak up. Speak to a friend, speak to me, speak to your dad, speak to one of my friends. If you want to, you know, just say, can I speak to a professional? And I think that's what society doesn't get, with so like, oh, grow up, brush it off. And in the way life is portrayed as perfect on social media with filters and everything, everybody's hiding from who they are. And I spent so long doing it, and it's like, do you know what? I am what I am, and if you don't like it, jog on. I'm not going to change to fit in with your ideal, which is what I was doing, but it was to keep me safe. If I did this, then you wouldn't do that. So addiction, where does it start? Yeah, trauma, but it doesn't have to be an horrific trauma. It can just be that one harsh word said by a teacher, that one careless throwaway comment by a friend, you know, oh, you're really going out in that, why? Oh, well, your thighs look a bit big. It's when it becomes a problem, is when you're like, oh God, have I got fat thighs? Oh my God, I've got to do it. And that's when the addiction starts. How can I solve this problem?
Yeah, it's amazing. I like how you put it, but yeah, how it can just be the smallest things, but over time, it can manifest and mature into something, you know, really problematic. And it's only kind of really through, you know, talking about it and investigating it that sometimes we can kind of get that breakthrough in that regard. But I was interested in, because you know, at the beginning, you kind of mentioned a lot of the things that you had, you know, and it's like kind of describing what happiness should be or could be. It's like, you know, there's a job and there's a relationship and there's a family and all these things. And I just wanted to ask, was it, you know, can you describe the confusion surrounding when you look at your life and you look at these things and that there isn't joy there?
All I know is that I felt threatened all the time and scared all the time, but didn't know why. And do you know what? I'd act out on it. I'd be irrational, I'd be dramatic, I'd lash out, I wasn't pleasant to be around. I was doing everything anybody in active addiction does, but I was sober. Looking back, and hindsight is a wonderful thing, and this is what I'm trying to teach my daughters, and this is where, yet again, society is wrong. One, you isolate yourself. There is no community anymore. People don't know their neighbours like they used to. But within that isolation, you go on social media and you portray the perfect life, the perfect family. And actually, nobody wants to talk about the problems. So happiness, to me, comes from deep within. And you know what? Yeah, I love the nice clothes and I love the nice cars and everything else. And I can, you know, go out and buy them, and they'll give me happiness, but it's only transient. What gives me happiness and fulfillment in my life now is knowing at the end of the day that I've done the best I possibly can for me, in whatever shape that takes, whether that's meditation, yoga, just having an afternoon nap, just contributing to just sending that text message, to just being a good human being. I don't have to be groundbreaking to be a good person. And the fact that I've installed that sense of happiness from within my children. And it's very interesting having two teenage girls that are 2.5 years apart but very, very different. One is an amazing student. She's had all sorts of tests for her age group. She's the top 0.5% intelligence in the country. She's going to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. Nothing is a problem for her. You know, straight 9s in GCSEs, and you know, only a couple of marks off 100%. And then I've got my younger one who is more like me, who's more creative, who's more into socialising and being with people. And I also see the impact of her watching her sister get A's and her not getting them, even though she's worked as hard. But what I have realised is they are two very, very different people, and society tends to group people together. So you're all addicts, you're all mothers, you're all fathers, you're all the CEOs of this company. And actually, within those groups, there's a huge wealth of very, very different people. And I always say, you know, I'm open when I meet people about my recovery, and they'll say, well, what did you get from it? And I'll say, I met a really, really nice lady who was 47 years old from South Yorkshire. She's got a wicked sense of humour, heart as big as a dustbin lid, but she will not take any prisoners. And they like look at me, and I went, yeah, I met me. And that's what I did when I came to Gladstones. I met me. Not the person my parents dictated, my friends dictated, that I dictated I should be. The real essence of me, and that essence is the happiness.
Yeah, and the freedom.
And the freedom.
Yeah. And have you, you know, on this journey and, you know, living this journey, have you been interested in what aspects of life or the world have given you joy? Has it been quite surprising?
Very surprising. When I was in here one Saturday, they did an exercise, and we were all given a piece of paper, and we had to do a drawing of life in addiction and life after addiction. And I remember just drawing for the life after addiction, in recovery, and because the blinkers were off. And I sort of thought I saw the world and I got it. But here I am nearly 3 years down the line, and actually every day I learn something new, not only about myself but about other people. And I always say that rehab therapy has given me a superpower, as in I clock other people's behaviours. And I actually said to my therapist only a couple of days ago that the best Christmas present I could have for me would be that my ex-husband had the sense of peace and calm that I have. And meaning that is, I watch his behaviours, I see him chasing the impossible dream, I see him trying to prove his self-worth through what he achieves in life, what he has in life and everything else. And addiction has given me the space to just be okay with who I am. I'm not perfect, I am not a saint, I mess up constantly, but it also gives me the strength to be vulnerable and say, I'm sorry.